Hello everyone, this is part 2 of What If Naruto Was Neglected and Escapes to Kumo, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Konoha, Hokage's office. Fugaku was having a terrible day and he was afraid it was about to get worse. First, he finds a bunch of dead civilians, 2 Chunin and the 2 Uchihas he had watching the boy, all dead. Then, one of the teams he sent to investigate the scene reports in that the Kyuubi Jinchuriki is dead as well. His body was beaten and broken with a Kami damned kitchen knife run through his heart. To make matters worse, he was waterlogged, and the autopsy showed that he was dead with no sign of the Kyuubi. For all he knew, the Kyuubi could show up at any moment and lay waste to his village. Zetsu had told him it would take years for the Kyuubi to reform, but that just seemed to put an ominous timer on the village's destruction. Fugaku was informed that Kakashi Hatake had reported in alone, carrying a stasis scroll for one of his injured companions. He was receiving some urgent treatment in the hospital before he would report in. This left Fugaku time to muse on the possible success or failure of Kushina's assassination. A task that Fugaku knew could backfire in the worst way possible. Unfortunately for Fugaku, it took Kakashi 3 hours to finally report in. Hokage-sama, I apologize for the delay. My wounds made it difficult for me to return. Fugaku waved him off before requesting a full mission report. Kakashi nodded and continued. Ida, Kushina-sensei and I were en route to the mission when we were attacked by 20 or so ninjas in black cloaks and blank masks. We engaged and Kushina-sensei was able to kill most of them before she was stabbed through her back and stomach. In her last act of bravery, she used some jutsu to explode and took out the remaining 5 ninjas she was fighting. Ida and myself fought the remainder and I was able to kill the rest before succumbing to my injuries. I woke up to find a heavily injured Ida and a massive crater on the battleground. I put Ida in a stasis scroll to preserve his life and left my mission incomplete. I deemed it more important to report this to you than to complete the mission because it wasn't time sensitive. Fugaku gritted his teeth throughout the report, but he found peace in knowing that Kushina was dead. Was there anything left of Kushina's body? No, Hokage-sama. I found and recovered her sword. I planned on giving it to Naruto. Kakashi, that will no longer be possible. Kakashi bristled at that bit of information and a look of cold fury occupied his lone visible eye. Last night, a mob of villagers killed Naruto before an unknown ninja killed the whole mob. Naruto's body is in the morgue now and the autopsy already confirmed it. Kakashi fell to his knees and wept for his dead mother and little brother figures. Fugaku allowed it since he wasn't a complete and total bastard yet. Okay, maybe he was, but he needed one of the strongest ninjas remaining in his village on his side. Go home and rest, Kakashi. I will expect a written report in the next 3 days. I will most likely call you for testimony before the council in that time. 2 days later, Konoha's council was called to provide an update on the situation. Danzo had informed Fugaku that one of his agents made it back to Root headquarters heavily injured and corroborated Kakashi's story. Ida, who was recovering in the hospital after losing his left eye and right arm, did as well. Now, Fugaku needed to address the council. Thank you everybody for responding to my call. I have called you here today to inform you of the death of Kushina Uzumaki and Naruto Uzumaki. The ninja heads jumped to their feet in an uproar while the civilian council cheered. Eventually, Fugaku restored order to the chamber and gave the official story of the events, which earned more outrage. The civilian council was appalled that so many civilians died during the valiant quest to rid the village of the demon. The Shinobi Council wondered who killed so many people and 4 ninjas. Hiashi stood and asked the question. Hokage-sama, who could possibly have killed that many people and escaped from the village? Fugaku answered in a monotone. Well, during our reports it appears as if the Uzumaki compound has been locked down by seals. In addition, Anko Mitarashi is MIA and Anbu found a note stuck to her front door with a kunai. She said she killed all of them to revenge her sensei's son. Tracker squads have been dispatched to locate her and I have added her into our bingo book as a B rank bounty. Anoiki chuckled at that. B rank, you think that is enough? I will tell you that girl has enormous potential, and she became a monster under Kushina's instruction. It should probably be higher. Some random civilian stood up at that. There is no way the snake whore is that strong. She finally betrayed the village, as we all knew she would. The man was cut off by enormous killing intent coming from Sume Inuzuka and Mikoto Uchiha, who was acting clan head until Itachi or Sasuke came of age. It was Sume that growled her threat at the man. Well, maybe if you moronic civilians didn't kill the son of her sensei, she wouldn't have done that. Did you ever think of that? Mibuyuki Haruno, a pink-haired banshee of a counselor, screeched out. I can't believe you would blame us, Sume. That boy was the Kyuubi incarnate. Those civilians are heroes. Mikoto was caught by Fugaku a few inches before she could tear the pink banshee's heart out. That didn't stop her from terrifying every civilian to their core. You evil, manipulative. He was a boy. A mere child. Anyone who spent 2 minutes with him could have seen that. And you Ing people killed him. Fugaku was now struggling to contain his wife. It had been years since he saw her act out in such a way, and it filled him with a strange mix of fear and respect. Then he was stunned as he saw the Mangekyo Sharingan spinning in his wife's eyes. Yes, he thought, she did come from good stock. I will need some more children out of her. He signaled Anbu to help him restrain her. Calm down, Mikoto-chan, calm down. Those responsible are already dead. The 2 survivors have already been interrogated by Ibiki and Inoiki. Mikoto's head snapped to her husband. You will bring me those 2. They will die by my blade. I will not stand for them to remain alive. The civilians protested this, but the unanimous vote of the Ninja Council and the elders made it crystal clear that they would be sentenced to death. The remainder of the council meeting was an unproductive mix of shouting and arguing that left every councillor with a headache. They were all concerned about the impending doom of the Kyuubi and about the village's lack of a Jinchuriki. However, nothing more was decided that night. 2 weeks later, gates of Kumogakure no Sato. A beautiful blonde woman carrying twin blades on her hips approached the gates of Kumogakure. The gate guards halted her and were in the process of inspecting the woman. She didn't have any papers, which was suspicious. The blonde woman then spoke. Look, you two, could you please tell I that an old friend is here to cash a favor from the Third War? Once he meets me, he will understand. Without much further protest, the gate guard had a bold ninja, Kumo's version of Anbu, deliver the message to the Raikage. I was a beast of a man with milk chocolate skin, blonde hair done back in cornrows, and he constantly wore an open white coat. Ripped muscles filled the coat's opening and 3 golden weights adorned each wrist. It is a point of contestation how much each of his wrist weights actually weighs, but the rumors say somewhere between 100 and 500 pounds. I was making his way with his most trusted shinobi, Darui, to the front gates. He was wondering who would call on him from the third great shinobi war that couldn't just present papers. As he approached the gates, he caught the guards standing around a blonde woman with a wonderful figure and 2 swords strapped to her hip. As he got closer, he started to recognize her, but the hair threw him for a loop. It wasn't until he was standing right in front of her and he recognized her, Kushina Uzumaki. Before I could speak and blow her cover, Kushina spoke as she bowed to him. Raikage-sama, I am here to seek a private audience with you. It is important. Without further discussion, I dismissed his gate guards and walked silently with the woman back to his office. He greeted his people as he made his way back up the mountain while his brain worked at a mile a minute to figure out why Kushina was here. Eventually, the group made it back to his office where he dismissed everyone except Darui. He then set up a privacy seal and opened the conversation. Kushina, not that it isn't good to see you here, but what can I do for you? And what's with the blonde hair? And why all the secrecy? Kushina smiled at I, a beautiful smile that made the man gulp. It is good to see you again. Much has happened and I will tell you all. It was a long journey, is there any way I could get some tea? I nodded at Darui, who requested tea from I's fiery secretary, Karui, before closing the door. Kushina proceeded to tell I of all that happened since Minato died during the Kyuubi attack. Needless to say, I and Darui were a mix of stunned and enraged once Kushina finished catching him up. Karui entered midway into the conversation and Kushina pinged her chakra. It seemed like there was some Uzumaki blood in that fiery and foul-mouthed secretary. Through gritted teeth, I responded. I am sorry for all that. So, What is it that I can do for you? This was the crucial moment, she really needed this to work. How would you like the Uzumaki clan to join Kumogakure? If this is something you desire, I would like something in return, which will benefit us both in the future. Daru's mouth hung open in shock as I reeled at the suggestion. Why, Kushina, would you willingly come to a village that attempted to kidnap you once? Kushina waved off the concern. Shit happens and it was your father that ordered that. Minato and I always trusted you to be a decent man. He spoke fondly of your rivalry, which is why he didn't kill you and your brother after our battle. He knew you were the man that Kumo needed to get back on the right track. I was pleasantly surprised by the response. Indeed, the rivalry between him and Minato was a thing of legends. Okay, so, if I agree to this, what do I get and what would you need? Kushina took a deep breath before delivering the big news. Well, my Sochi is the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. In addition to gaining the most powerful Biju, I would share some Uzumaki seals and techniques. I would join your forces and do everything I could to help Kumo prosper. I will guarantee my son's loyalty to Kumo and I will encourage him to propagate his bloodline here. I was now envisioning the armies of Kumo equipped with Uzumaki seals before visions of Kumo's future was filled with the descendants of the two most powerful ninjas he had ever known. Okay, Kushina, that sounds great, but what is it you want from me? I would like for you and Kumo to assist me in rebuilding Uzushiogakure. I would like you to help me find any scattered Uzumaki. Until we have rebuilt Uzushio, I would like the clan to reside here. Once Uzushio is built, my son will head the clan here while you have strategic positioning and allies in Uzu. I raised a massive hand to his chin as he thought it over. He would be harboring 2 or more fugitives from Konoha. Big whoop, he could hide them from Konoha's spies. He would acquire a new Jinchuriki, something that may bring war to Kumo, but he would have 3 Jinchuriki to dissuade that. In return for basically building an outpost, he would gain a legendary clan and even some bloodline. That spurred Ai's next question. What bloodline does your son have? Kushina picked up the keen interest in Ai's tone, so she smirked before she answered. Tsunade's genetic test confirmed chakra chains, massively enhanced chakra capacity and rapid regeneration. While they are untrained, he has 3 chakra natures as well, wind, lightning and water. I smacked his lips at the prospect. He looked to Darui, who was equally impressed, and asked what he thought. Raikage-sama, I have water and lightning elemental affinities, which is why I have my storm release. If the child is everything Kushina-sama is saying, then he will become a monster. With the right training, he would be able to eclipse all of us. I turned to Kushina and hardened his eyes and set himself into professional mode. Very well, Kushina Uzumaki, I will accept you and your kin into Kumogakure. In return, I will aid you in resurrecting the Uzumaki. Kushina pulled out a scroll, carefully and slowly, and asked. Would you care to put it all down on an Uzumaki blood contract? I looked hesitant before he asked what the contract would do. An Uzumaki blood contract is unbreakable. In the event either party betrays the other, the contract will take the offending party's life. Let's say I betrayed Kumo in some way, the seal would activate, and I would die. Let's say you kill me and take my Sochi, the seal would activate, and you would die. The Uzumaki used this in their most serious treaties and agreements, and it protected the clan for centuries before we were betrayed. I looked at her seriously. So, you can't just activate the seal and kill me. I looked closely at her for any sign of deceit or malice. No, it does not work like that. We write out the contract, which links to our blood. Unless either of us breaks the contract, nothing will happen. I sighed. If he didn't trust this troublesome woman, he would never do such a thing. However, the potential gains for Kumo as a whole make it worth it. Very well. So, the contract between the Raikage of Kumo, and Kushina Uzumaki was signed. Kushina stayed in Kumo for a day before returning to Naruto and the rest of her family. She gave the original contract and held onto a copy for herself. Tanzaku Gai, after Kushina left. Anko sighed as she played with her shiny blonde hair. It was the best way to throw pursuers off of her unique purple hair. She also put scent-blocking seals on all of her clothes to prevent any of the Inazukis from catching her scent. She sighed again as the troublesome blonde boy flew off the tree again. Too much chakra, Gaki. She laughed as the cute boy pouted at her. Anko ne, why is this so hard for me? Well, Gaki, you have more chakra than I do and you haven't really learned to control it yet. Shizune stifled her chuckle before she jumped in. She instructed the excitable boy to take a seat on the ground before she began. Okay, Naruto-kun, I know you are a smart boy, so let me explain. Chakra is the mix between physical, yang, energy and spiritual, yin, energy. In our bodies we can combine these two energies to produce chakra and mold it to enhance our bodies, like your Bar-chan, or perform external jutsu. In our bodies, chakra is constantly flowing. It is like your blood and it has its own special pathways that lead from the top of your head, to the tips of your fingers, to the tips of your toes. Are you with me so far? At Naruto's nod, she continued. Well, in those special pathways are points called tenketsu. These tenketsu are where chakra mixes and takes shape. The bigger the tenketsu, the more powerful jutsu you can perform at once. Still with me? Another nod from the blonde whose serious gaze was digging into Shizune as if looking for the answers behind her eyes. Okay, well the special pathway, the chakra circulatory system, pulls chakra out of the primary chakra reservoir, your heart. This chakra flows at various rates and a couple of factors come into play. The bigger the chakra reserve, like yours, the faster the chakra flows. The faster chakra flows, the more difficult it becomes to mold. Especially since your tenketsu are still relatively small in comparison to your enormous reserves. Finally, chakra has different density. The more dense chakra is, the stronger the jutsu, however, denser chakra also makes it more difficult to mold. Naruto scratched his head in frustration. So, let me get this straight, I have super amounts of chakra, my chakra is super dense and it moves super fast, which all make it harder to mold. Is that right, Shizune Nekken? Shizune rubbed Naruto's spiky, blonde locks. Very good, Naruto-kun. Yes, that is correct. Naruto frowned at this. I am screwed. I will never be a great ninja because I have too much stinkin' chakra to mold, Databio. Anko tossed an empty dango stick at Naruto. No, Gaki, you have the potential to become one of the greatest ninjas ever. You will just have to work 100 times harder than any other Gaki to control your chakra. She is right, Naruto-kun. It will be difficult, but you have the most potential I have ever seen. Naruto hopped to his feet and gave each sister a hug. He thanked them before running over to the tree and giving it another go. Unfortunately, things are never that easy. He continued to progress, but it would be weeks before he was able to comfortably perform the tree walking exercise. During their breaks in training, Shizune or Tsunade would walk Naruto through Tanzaku-gai. When Tsunade was alone with Naruto, she would sneak him into the casino so that he could play with his Bar-chan. The casinos couldn't believe the winning streak the legendary sucker went on. Tsunade paid off every debt in Tanzaku-gai before she pocketed enough money to secure a compound. She started at the slots with Naruto and then she would play Texas Hold, or 5-card stud. The gamblers around town tried to take advantage of her rotten luck until Tsunade cleaned them all out. It was even more embarrassing that a 5-year-old child was taunting them from her lap. The gambling spree lasted for 5 days before Shizune busted Tsunade for it. Shizune's anger was tempered when Tsunade told her that she had paid off her debts and got him a new home. Shizune squealed in happiness and gave full credit to her little brother for this, which earned an angry tick mark from Tsunade. Anko was just glad to get out of the hotel and move into an actual house. She knew that she would have to lay low in town that was so close to Konoha, but it still sucked that she missed out on all of the fun. Shizune would take Naruto around town to visit some of the food stalls and bookstores. She was glad that the kid enjoyed reading so much and she was happy to see the light return to his azure blue eyes over the past couple weeks. She had walked with Naruto to a particular corner where he had been spending some time near a girl playing a flute. Naruto let go of Shizune's hand and ran up to Tayuya and gave her some fresh takoyaki and a couple sticks of dango. She watched on as Naruto's infectious smile crept onto the redhead's face. After she finished eating, she played a truly enchanting song on her flute. The music drew a crowd that would toss a couple coins in the girl's hat. Shizune recognized that the music was laced with a genjutsu, but it was so serene that she decided not to break the genjutsu. Naruto was about to say goodbye to his new friend when he noticed that a couple older guys pulled her into an alley. He charged off to help his friend and it took Shizune a minute to realize he was gone. When Naruto entered the alley, his blood lit aflame in a fiery rage. There was one thug holding Tayuya's arms above her head and leering at her. Another thug was picking her pockets for the money she earned. The last guy was looking at Tayuya's flute before he snapped it in half. That seemed to break Tayuya's spurt, but it lit Naruto on fire. Before they knew what was happening, 3 chains, sparkling with electricity, stabbed through each thug. Their cries of pain filled the alley and they dropped Tayuya, who fell to her knees. Shizune sprinted into the alley and gasped at what she saw. 3 chains sprouted out of Naruto's back and they were impaling 3 men that were 15 feet away from the blonde. She knew immediately that one of the men was dead but 2 of them were twitching as they continued to be electrocuted. It was then she noticed the blue sparks of lightning chakra that danced along the chains and into the men's bodies. Naruto-kun, that is enough. You need to calm down, now. Shizune's strict tone reached Naruto through the haze of his anger. Naruto snapped back into his normal frame of mind and paled at what he had just done. Before he knew it, the chakra chains retreated back into his body and left him standing there, gaping. The men were crumpled heaps on the ground and each of them was now dead from either their wounds or the electricity. Shizune remained in a stunned silence until Naruto started crying and throwing up on the wall. Tayuya remained on her knees, her eyes fixed on the broken flute. The last remnant of her mother. Eventually, Shizune calmed Naruto down and performed a quick fire jutsu to get rid of the bodies. She didn't need people looking into her little brother for the murder of some common street thugs. She let Tayuya take the money off the dead thugs before offering to take her back to the hotel. Tayuya nodded her head and walked with them silently to the hotel. She would spend the next week or so with Naruto and company until Kushina returned. Nearly a month after her departure, and a week after Tayuya joined the gang, Kushina returned to Tanzakugai. She skillfully dodged the patrols of Konoha ninjas and had to take her time after she crossed back into Fire Country. She went to the hotel, where the woman at the desk informed her that Tsunade left a note for her. Tsunade's note guided her to a nice house on the northern edge of Tanzakugai. It was a humble 2-story house with a small yard and a garden out front. Kushina heard the sound of her son's laughter accompanied by laughter that sounded like a young girl. She walked through the house and out onto the back porch where Tsunade was drinking sake while watching the kids train with Anko and Shizune. Care to explain how you could afford to move into a house, Tsunade? Tsunade turned around to see Kushina with her arms crossed and an eyebrow raised. Haha, well your brat gave me a lucky streak. I cleaned house for a couple days before I had enough to pay off my debts and I won this place off a poker game. Kushina's hair flared up and began to separate into 9 distinct tails. You took my Sochi into casinos so you could win some money. Tsunade stood up and held both her hand in a placating gesture. Now, Kushi-chan, he was safe with me the whole time. Kushina flew into a fit of motherly rage and laid a beating on Tsunade. Tsunade decided to just take her lumps and not resist. Thus, Naruto and Tayuya walked up to Tsunade with multiple lumps protruding from the top of her head. Oh well, her debt's paid off, totally worth it. Car-chan, why are you being mean to Bar-chan? Naruto's innocent tone shattered Kushina's rage into millions of pieces. Naruto-kun. Kushina darted over to Naruto and pulled him into a tight, yet loving, hug. Naruto was gasping for air before she let him go. She then noticed the cute little redhead that was next to her son. What's this, Sochi, got yourself a girlfriend already? Tayuya blushed but the comment went right over Naruto's head. Yup. Car-chan, this is Tayuya-chan. I saved her from some bad guys, and she is staying with us. Kushina linked eyes with Tsunade before turning to look at Tayuya. Well, Tayuya-chan, welcome. Can you tell me what happened to your parents? Tayuya looked down and tears brimmed in her eyes. My mama died and my daddy left me. Kushina pulled the girl into a motherly embrace. She got another familiar sense from the girl's chakra, so she decided to ask. Tayuya, what was your mother's name? The girl looked up through the gap in Kushina's bust and muffled out something incomprehensible. Kushina gave the girl a little space and gasped when Tayuya said, Tami Uzumaki. Tsunade joined her in a stunned silence before Kushina scooped the girl into an overwhelming hug. Well, Tayuya-chan, I am Kushina Uzumaki, and this is my son Naruto. Your mom was my cousin and now you are part of my family. Tayuya cried into Kushina's chest while Naruto whooped in joy. Kushina took the kids out to eat to celebrate discovering a new family member. Kushina smiled brilliantly as she watched the two kids chat the night away and eat their meals. She looked to the sky and thanked Kami for this blessing. It seemed only good things happened since she left Konoha. That thought changed a little bit when Shizune recounted the story of Naruto saving Tayuya. Naruto was a wreck for a couple days, but Tayuya broke him out of his spell, and he has been better since. The group stayed in Tanzaku-gai for another week so that Kushina could spend time with Tsunade. Naruto and Tayuya were inseparable, thus, Anko and Shizune would train the two in basic chakra control. Anko brought out dull kunais and got the kids started on proper handling of the ninja tools. During that week, Kushina took Naruto and Tayuya to a music store and Tayuya was able to choose a flute of her choice. Naruto paid for it with some of the money that Tsunade won and gave to him as his cut because he said he wanted to buy something nice for his sister. It was an adorable gesture that made Tayuya blush crimson and Kushina giggle mischievously. It was finally time for Kushina, Anko and the kids to say goodbye to Tsunade and Shizune. Truth be told, Tsunade really wanted to go with them, but they couldn't afford so much attention to be placed on the road group. Thus, Tsunade and Shizune waved goodbye to them from the porch of her new house. Kushina had acquired papers and passports from Ai that helped get them into a merchant caravan without much trouble. Kushina's name was changed to Shina Maki, Naruto became Ruto Maki, Anko became Shamanko Maki and Tayuya was just Tayuya. Kushina would get her proper papers when they got to Kumo. After seeing the chakra-dyed hair of Anko and Kushina, Tayuya insisted on having her hair dyed the same shade of sun-kissed blonde as Naruto. Thus, Kushina led her family of blondes in the caravan on the way to Kumo. The caravan was a slow-moving procession that took 3 weeks to get to the front gates of Kumo. Hiding among civilians was pretty boring for the kids, but that didn't stop Anko from playing chakra control games with Tayuya and Naruto. Eventually, every kid in the caravan migrated to the Uzumaki, or should I say Maki, family. Anko would toss ping-pong balls at the kids, and they had to catch them without using their hands. Anko brought multiple bags of ping-pong balls that she would lob at the kids. The civilian kids would trap them with their arms or other strategies that made them look like clapping seals. Naruto and Tayuya would try to channel chakra to whatever extremity Anko threw the ball at and keep that ball stuck to wherever it landed. Tayuya was much better at it than Naruto and she had a total of 11 ping-pong balls stuck all over her. Naruto only had 6 and they kept falling off as new ones were thrown at him. Each time, Naruto would get frustrated and either say something to rattle Tayuya or tickle her to make her drop them. This usually ended with Tayuya calling Naruto various names, but it seemed her favorite was shithead. Anko laughed as the girl rambled at her newfound brother and Naruto answered back with equal vigor. Anko couldn't remember the last time her heart was filled with so much joy. Maybe it was when Kushina-sensei removed the cursed seal when Anko was placed on her team. Yeah, back in the good old days on Kushina's team with Yugao and Kurenai. It seemed like so long ago. When the kids weren't playing games, they were reading basic books that would introduce them to ninja life. Seeing as they were Uzumakis, Kushina gave them Intro to Fuinjutsu by Mito Uzumaki, which Naruto was already familiar with. He had read it dozens of times in his childhood. Naruto would look over her shoulder from time to time to check on her progress or look up from his book, Chakra and Its Basic Components, by Tsunade Senju. When the kids got bored of reading, Kushina and Anko would tell them stories and give them basic instructions. Long caravan trip short, the kids used the trip to learn how to become better shinobi. Eventually, the caravan pulled up to the base of the mountain that housed Kumogakure. Naruto rode on Anko's shoulders and looked up with his jaw hanging low. The road wound in a circular pattern around the mountain, up and up it went into the clouds. The buildings were built into the mountainside and his mother told him that the whole mountain was used in some way. They followed the caravan up to the gates and the Uzumaki family waited patiently for their turn to enter. Eventually, Kushina flashed their papers and the permission slip from the Raikage to allow Tayuya entry. The Uzumaki family made its way up to the Raikage tower to introduce themselves to Ai and find out where they would be living for their fresh start in Kumo. Naruto and Tayuya took in the new landscape in awe, only barely registering that it was harder to breathe than they were used to. The winding path was filled with life and fun, but Anko was able to notice that this village was much more militaristic than Konoha. Shinobi-based buildings were everywhere and the civilian presence was greatly reduced. If the percentage of Konoha was 70% civilian and 30% shinobi, then the hidden cloud would be the inverse of that. Naruto waved to everyone who looked at him curiously, not caring that a majority of the people were dark-skinned. He found it awesome to meet people different than him, and his gigawatt smile earned smiles and waves in return. The people of Kumo looked at the family of sun-kissed blondes with curiosity, but the atmosphere seemed welcoming as well. The trip to the Raikage Tower took 20 minutes and Tayuya was huffing and puffing by the time they made it all the way up, while Naruto was still bouncing around in excitement. They stopped at the desk outside of the Raikage's office and saw the pretty secretary with smooth, milk chocolate skin and fiery red hair. Her golden eyes peered down on the children as the azure blue and dark red eyes met her gaze. She smiled at the two beautiful blonde children before addressing Kushina. Lady Shina, it is good to see you again. I will notify the Raikage that you are here, but you will need to wait to enter until B and Yugito come. No problem, Karui-san. Mind if I ask you a question? I noticed something familiar in your chakra signature. Do you know if you had any Uzumaki in your family line? Kushina responded cheerfully. Karu's eyes widened at that, and she seemed to think before responding. I am sorry, Shina-sama, I do not know. I was orphaned in the last war before I really had the chance to get to know my parents or my lineage. An apologetic look fixed itself on Kushina's face. I am sorry, Karui-chan. What if I told you that I have a seal that could identify if you have any Uzumaki blood? Karu's eyes lit up at the suggestion. Really? That easy? Kushina nodded while her family looked on gaping. Yeah. Let's do it. Kushina chuckled at her enthusiasm before pulling the giant scroll of her back. She unrolled it to a certain point and paused once the required seal was laid out. Okay, Karui-chan, a little blood on your fingers, then a handprint on the center of this seal. Without hesitation, Karui cut her index finger and smeared some blood on her thumb and other fingers before slamming it onto the seal with enthusiasm. She looked up expectantly at Kushina to see her nodding her head and analyzing the changing seal. Karui couldn't take it anymore and let out a louder than intended, well. Kushina looked up from the seal and smiled at her. Yup, as I thought. 1/4 Uzumaki from your grandmother. Tears threatened to escape from Karu's golden orbs. That was until a loud and boisterous voice speaking in some form of rhythmic rap echoed from the hallway and into the waiting room. This seemed to snap Karui straight out of her daze, and she put an agitated look on her face before shouting. Damn it, B. Shut your trap and cease the incessant rap. She then looked aghast and clamped both hands over her mouth. All Uzumakis laughed openly at their long-lost relative before B entered the waiting room. Dang, Karui, that was hot. Me thinks you're a rapper, even if you claim not. B's exaggerated hand gestures made the Uzumaki kids laugh, but all of the grown women looked at B incredulously. Anko spoke what all Uzumakis were feeling. Is this guy for real? B, the Raikage's 22-year-old younger brother, took a long moment to soak up Anko's form. His lips slowly parted into a moderate gape before his chin snapped up and a smirk plastered itself on his face. Yo, who is this little lady? She's so wow, makes me wanna bring out the Hachibi. Unfortunately for the knucklehead rapper, this line also fell flat among the Uzumakis. So flat in fact that Anko burst out laughing. She bent over at the waist, slapping her knee and gasping for air. Oh, gasp. Holy shit. Gasp. That was, too funny. She continued to gasp for air in between bouts of laughter. Bied his head to the side as he looked at the laughing Kunoiki. He then looked to the other Uzumakis for a partial explanation of the Kunoiki's behavior, and his eyes fell on Naruto. The Hachibi didn't have to tell B, this boy was the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, but there was something more than that. The thickness of his chakra was almost equal to the Biju themselves. Yo, boyo, you can call me Uncle B, I carry the Hachibi. If I am right in my mind, you carry Mr. 9. The boy shook his head vigorously in a manner that actually interrupted B's poorly constructed rap sentence. B ed his head again, translated body language demanding an explanation from the tiny blonde. The little boy looked uncomfortable before he firmed his resolve and looked up at the giant of a man. It is Mrs. 9, B-san. B's jaw dropped and Gyuki was equally stunned. He always thought that the leader of the demonic Kitsune clan was a male. Gyuki came from a merging of demonic clans between powerful bulls and a sort of amphibian octopus. His clans merged in order to combat the might of the Kitsune clan. Then the sage, father that he was to the Biju, summoned Gyuki to the human realm and imparted his chakra upon him and his siblings. That was a couple centuries ago and Gyuki never knew that the Kyubi no Kitsune was a female. He didn't even know her name that whole time because the sage was the only one she told. Meanwhile, B seemed to remain stunned in front of the Uzumakis as an internal back and forth ensued. Finally, B knelt down in front of Naruto. My bad lil man, it wasn't no part of an evil plan. If you can tell Ms. 9 that we're sorry, you can cash in a favor from the mighty killer B. B smiled at the youngster and held out his fist. Naruto shook off his hesitation and bumped fists with the massive, silly man. Okay, Mr. B, I will remember that. Even if your rapping falls a little flat. B ruffled Naruto's hair in appreciation of the boy's first rap. He would make a disciple yet. As the two finished their exchange, Yugito, a 13-year-old genin from Kumo and the Jinchuriki of the Nibi no Nekomata announced her presence. So, I see that this is Kumo's newest addition to its Jinchuriki ranks. Hiya, lil guy, I am Yugito Ni and I house the Nibi no Nekomata. Naruto peeked around the massive frame of Killer B and saw a beautiful blonde girl, with her hair done in a long ponytail that reached her mid-back. She wore the standard gear of a Kumo genin with her Hishi-8 sewn into her left shoulder. Her gentle purple shirt accentuated her spotless skin and chocolate brown eyes. Naruto smiled at her welcoming presence and was grateful to know somebody else who could understand him. Naruto stepped around the still kneeling frame of B and accepted Yugito's handshake. It is nice to meet you, Auntie Yugito. I am I am Rutomaki, and I hold Ms. 9, as Uncle B said. Yugito smiled curiously at the kid. I told her that the kid was 5 but he was significantly more developed than any 5-year-old she had ever seen. Her first guess would have been 10. She shelved those thoughts for later and asked, Auntie. Naruto shuffled in a clear display of nervousness and his eyes shot to his feet. Well, Uncle B said that he is my uncle, so I thought that would make you my auntie. Yugito didn't have the easiest childhood nor the acceptance of her whole village. According to Naruto had it worse than she did. She decided to accept the familial affection and she pulled Naruto into a hug. The Uzumaki family watched on as their youngest member made fast friends with the Jinchuriki duo. The moment was shattered as a shout came from Ai's office, and Karui ushered them into the room. Naruto walked into the room with eyes wide in amazement. The room itself was pretty standard, but two things stood out to our blonde future hero. First, the massive figure of the Yondaime Raikage. Naruto was just a kid, but he could tell this man was powerful. Naruto shelved that thought as a kind smile stood out amongst the intimidating figure of Ai. The second thing that caught Naruto's attention was the view of the village that Ai had from his glass wall. The Raikage Tower sat high upon the mountain and provided a stunning view of the village. Ignoring decorum, Naruto and Tayuya ran to the glass wall that looked over their new village. The kids pressed their faces to the glass in order to get the full view. The adults watched the cute, childish display with smiles on their faces. Naruto felt a massive hand rest on his shoulder before he heard Ai speak. Pretty cool, isn't it? Naruto nodded his head vigorously. Think you would like to become a shinobi that protects this village? Naruto's head was a blur of up and down motion. Okay then, why don't you two join your mother so we can get this started? Kushina smiled at the display of kindness from her husband's old rival and her current leader. Thank you for your kindness and hospitality, Raikage-sama. Kushina bowed to the Raikage and all Uzumakis followed her example. A massive mitt swished through the air. Think nothing of it, Kushina. I believe this will benefit everyone. So, you told me that Naruto is 5 years old, right? Kushina nodded at Ai's eyebrow. Could you explain why he looks like he is almost 10 then? Kushina gulped. She hadn't told Ai of the demonic contract or the accelerated growth from the Kyubi. She decided to air some of the truth and see how it was received. To the best of our knowledge, Kyubi is accelerating Naruto's growth. He already has Chunin level chakra capacity with nearly endless chakra reserves. In fact, he manifested a unique brand of the Uzumaki chakra chains while I was visiting you. I looked like a kid underneath the Christmas tree about to unwrap the biggest present. He was already excited enough to get the Uzumaki line to take root in his village. He was ecstatic to know that the boy already had an Uzumaki Kekai Genkai. How much better could this boy get? I steadied his voice before asking, unique. Anko stepped forward here. According to Shizune, apprentice of Tsunade, Naruto manifested chakra chains with an additional lightning element when he saved Tayuya from 3 thugs. Naruto disposed of said thugs. Anko's hesitation at reminding Naruto of the memory was palpable. Tayuya took Naruto's hand in hers and gave it a firm squeeze, which visibly relaxed the blonde's tense shoulders. I sighed at that. He hated when kids were dragged into the darkness of this world. I see. I am sorry you had to go through that, Naruto-kun. Want to take a fun test for me? Yes. Raikage Shiji. Naruto bounced with excitement as B fell over in a fit of laughter and Yugito failed to stifle a giggle. I sighed before he pulled something from his desk and stood up. The massive man walked in front of Naruto and got down on one knee. Kushina had her arm on Naruto's shoulder and her whole body was tensed and ready to spring into action. A calming look from I earned a moderate easing of her posture, but she was still a protective mother. I handed a piece of paper to Naruto. Okay, little guy, I want to check something really quick. Your mom told me you already know how to channel your chakra. Put this paper in between 2 fingers and channel chakra to them. Naruto looked to his mother for confirmation and then he channeled chakra into the paper after her nod. The paper sheared clean in 2 before one half of the sheet dampened and the other crumpled. The figurative Christmas present I was ready to open earlier blew away every expectation he had. He wanted to find Santa Claus and give him a bone-crushing hug. Kushina noticed how the Raikage recoiled in surprise before recomposing himself and realized she would have to lay out some ground rules later on. I stood up and looked directly at Kushina. That is quite the kid you have there. I know that you want to protect him, and I know that you will most likely train him. What I wanted to know is if you would let him become my apprentice when he is 10. You can handle the foundational training, you can train with us when he becomes my apprentice and I will allow you unfettered access to him. I simply cannot ignore the potential this boy holds. Kushina tensed at the direct approach I was using. Truth be told, she didn't have many options. If Azu was to be rebuilt, she would need to acknowledge this man as he leader and Naruto was one of the conditions for the blood contract. Kushina calmed herself before linking eye contact with the ferocity of a mother and a war hero. I will allow it as long as I am given some discretion when it comes to his training and the timing of his more worldly missions. I smiled at that. Of course, Kushina, we are bound by contract, and I will honor your wishes when it comes to his training. How about this little one here? I looked down at the young blonde girl. This here is Tayuya-chan, the girl my Sochi saved in Tanzaku Gai. She has a unique ability as well. We have not tested her affinities yet, but I can tell you she is most likely a wind type. She was subconsciously infusing her music with a genjutsu when Naruto met her. She uses a flute as a medium for this unique genjutsu. She is also confirmed half-blooded Uzumaki. I knew her mother before the fall of Azuchiogakure. On that note, your secretary, Karui-chan, is a quarter-blooded Uzumaki on her mother's side. If she wishes, she will be accepted into the Kumo branch of the Uzumaki family. I had an eyebrow at this. It certainly would explain the fiery temper and red hair. In fact, it made perfect sense. Good to know. Well, welcome Tayuya-chan. Do you wish to be a shinobi as well? Yes, Raikage-sama. If I don't, who will protect Shithead on his missions? The girl offered the reply with such simplistic spunk, that I couldn't help but crack a smile. B fell to the ground in another fit of laughter and a couple Bolt agents snickered. Very well, I will get your papers worked up. Children start the academy in Kumo at age 8, so you two have a couple years to get ready. Kushina, anything else you would like to address at this time? Kushina nodded and pulled out a medium-sized scroll out of one of her hidden seals. Working with the kids on the way here gave me this idea. If your academy is anything like Konoha's, then it is woefully inferior to the Uzumaki education system. In order to help my children and the future generations of Kumo, I offer this as a gift of goodwill for all of your assistance. I would encourage you and your shinobi to look through it and maybe use my children's age group as a test run. I am sure you won't be disappointed. I had an eyebrow before Yugito spoke up. How, exactly, is it better? Her tone offered challenge and a slight bit of offense. Kushina responded without hesitation. Well, kiddo, I don't know if your history covered much on the Uzumaki clan. For generations, an Uzumaki genin was worth a mid-rank chunin, and that was on average. An Uzumaki prodigy was on the same scale as Hashirama Senju, case in point Mito Uzumaki. That came from strong educational foundations, a knowledge of Fuinjutsu, and the development in understanding of chakra from the beginning. Sure, history is nice to know and it is somewhat necessary, but will it be the deciding factor on the battlefield? Will your knowledge of past exploits stop the kunai from killing you? Or, how many of your genin know of or are even familiar with the current ninjas in the bingo book? Those are just a few examples, Yugito-san, of how I know the Uzumaki education system was superior. Yugito's eyes drifted to her feet and her challenging attitude was truly humbled. I got the childlike Christmas look again and B was simply nodding along. I then realized what she said. Wait, Kushina, are you telling me that Uzumaki Fuinjutsu lessons are included in this curriculum? Kushina nodded proudly. Yes, that is what I am telling you. Of course, I am holding stuff back. I have provided Fuinjutsu levels 1 through 3 in that scroll. In Azu, genins would graduate from the academy as level 6 Fuinjutsu journeyman. For now, I would ask you to settle on level 3 since most children will not have the genetic predisposition to Fuinjutsu. We will take what we can get, Kushina. For now, why don't you let B and Yugito show you to your new compound so you may get settled in? Shamanko-san, I paused here and looked at Anko with a ridiculous smirk on his face. Nice name, here is your Hishiate. I will give you a couple weeks to get settled in. Report to me when you are ready to resume active duty. Anko nodded and accepted the new Hishiate. She hated her new alias, but she couldn't bring herself to totally part from her given name. B and Yugito walked the Uzumaki clan to their new compound, a very nice place settled on a plateau in the mountain right next to Ai's compound. B told Naruto that he would stop by from time to time to check in on him and help train him. The Uzumakis bid farewell to the Jinchuriki duo and enjoyed exploring their new home. 3 years later, Intro Academy life. 3 years passed in a flash for Naruto and the Uzumaki family. Kushina, or Lady Shina as most of the Kumo public knows her, accepted the role as head of education. She did full reviews of the core curriculum and garnered support to institute the changes to the Kumo Academy. She planned it out perfectly so Naruto and Tayuya would be among the first generation of the newly trained students. She also got the council to concede on pushing the age of enlistment back from 12 to 14. She cited death rates among new genin, abysmal mission success rates among genin teams and other relevant stats to validate this change. Despite her reforms, there were still many ways for Kumo to conscript younger shinobi. I making Naruto his apprentice and Anko taking Tayuya as an apprentice would override the age of conscription. It was planned to take the apprentices out on joint missions or joint training trips during the breaks in the academy. However, apprentices were not granted full shinobi status until they graduated from the academy, so Naruto would be safe from dangerous missions for now. The Uzumaki family also made rapid and vast impacts on the Kumo shinobi population. One of the positive effects of teaching your whole family journeyman level Fuinjutsu is that they can manufacture tags that shinobi use in everyday life. That is doubly so when one member of your family has nearly cage level reserves, even if most of those reserves were untapped. The Uzumaki clan as a whole pumped out sealing tags, explosive tags and other Uzumaki tags that flew off the shelves of every shinobi store in Kumo. This provided a steady income for the clan and, in addition to Kushina's efforts, made the Maki clan of Kumo become one of Kumo's most influential families. A.N. It is my goal to write out the names we all know in love while telling the story. The aliases will be used in public settings like talking or when their aliases are needed due to their situations. Kushina knew that her family would need to be prepared for the adversity ahead, so she buckled down on their training for the 3 years they had. At 6 years old, 7 for Tayuya, she taught the children the shadow clone jutsu. It was uniquely suited to Uzumaki shinobi, despite the Leaf claiming it as their original technique meant for Jonin-level ninjas. Naruto was much better suited to the jutsu than Tayuya due to his massive reserves and healing factor, but Tayuya could still produce a single clone at the age of 6. If one stopped in on the Maki family regularly, they would see a couple shadow clones of a fierce blonde woman instructing 2 little blonde girls and an ever-growing horde of little blonde boys. Kushina trained the children up on the basics every day. The mornings would start with a rigorous workout. For starters, the children would perform a growing number of push-ups, air squats, sit-ups, burpees, chakra jumps. The kids would channel chakra to their legs and jump as high as they could, and weighted lunges. After the first round of this, they would run to the base of the mountain and back up again. Upon their return, they would do one more round of the physical exercises and then eat breakfast. After breakfast was an introduction to meditation, not one of Kushina's strong suits, but Yugito helped significantly with instructing the children on proper meditation. Kushina used some of Yugito's practices to help refine her own meditation as well. After meditation came studies until lunchtime. The studies covered all of the basics for shinobi life like hand seals, chakra theory, chakra natures, known Kekai Genkai of the elemental nations, politics and etiquette, decorum training. The last one required I to find a proper tutor for since Kushina never really understood those lessons. After lunch, Kushina forced Kenjutsu and Taijutsu katas down the children's throats for 3 hours. Once that was completed came the daily dose of chakra control exercises. Kushina was good at tweaking the normal exercises and making games out of the. She constructed a series of earth pillars for the children to climb using the tree climbing technique, and she would have them play tag on the pillars. She dug into the mountain a bit and paid B with some sake to fill in the dugout with water. She would have the kids play on, meditate on or lay down on the water's surface to increase chakra control and capacity. I would stop by frequently to check on his new clan and see the progress of his future apprentice. Needless to say, he was impressed. So impressed, in fact, that he sent a couple of the prominent children of Tayuya's age to join them in their training and fun. Kushina was initially reluctant, but after seeing the smile on her Sochi's face at having new friends, she relented. It was this collection of childhood friends that would define Kumo's future. The group composed of Naruto, Tayuya, Samui, Mabui, Archoi and Omoi. They became fast friends, and the girls became keenly interested in our intrepid blonde. Speaking of Naruto, the boy's growth rate was remarkable. His understanding of Fuinjutsu matched Kushina's own. While Tayuya was stuck on level 2, Naruto was on level 4 by the time he joined the academy. The 8-year-old Naruto also looked like he was 13. Upon entering the academy, he stood at 5 foot 7 inches with a cut build that made him look like a manga character named Gohan from his favorite manga. Every inch of the body was composed of tight-knit and lean muscle, except for his boyish face. His unnatural growth made him tower over his friends and other kids of his age group. Kushina's least favorite side effect of this was the growing number of fangirls varying from ages 10 to 16, which Kushina found simultaneously cute and immensely annoying. Kushina worked directly with Naruto every day to learn and control his chakra chains. Like most Uzumaki, Naruto's chains initially sprouted out of his back, directly behind the primary chakra point, his heart. It took Naruto a year to develop his control enough to manifest chains from his hands, and he was still practicing to use them like his mother did. Kushina was surprised to see that the base nature of the chains was Raiten, lightning release. This made Kushina focus on elemental nature training with Naruto during their one-on-one times. It took him 3 years to complete his stage 3 lightning nature manipulation, but it gave him far greater control over his chakra chains. Unfortunately, his chakra control was still only mediocre because of the ludicrous and ever-growing amount of chakra that he had at his disposal. Naruto's second visit to the Kyuubi happened a couple months before he was supposed to start at the academy. B and Yugito stopped by regularly to instruct him on various shinobi arts, but they recently taught how to properly contact his Biju through meditation. Neither of them knew that Hikari was watching the whole time, but she wanted to see if he could reach her on his own. Hikari was waiting until Naruto was mentally mature enough to hold a decent conversation and understand more serious topics. She decided it was about time to rekindle the relationship before her vessel entered the human academy. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.